Oh, I had my mic muted, sorry. Okay, we are getting started right away. We are jumping right into the Champions Select. Welcome to Reverie Esports Open number 54. I'm your caster, Effect FX, with my co-host...
Octavian.
Alrighty, making sure everything is correct, which the team names are not. Let me fix that real quick.
That's all right. I can forgive you. Effect, and we do have Supernova Academy going to be taking up the blue banners, and facing off against them will be Midnight Gaming. I'm pretty hyped, actually, to see this particular match. I cast for a few organizations in the amateur scene, and Supernova is a name that you'll see pretty often about the place, over in the Imperial League, here in Reverie, and in a few other of the smaller leagues that float about. Midnight, though, I mean, they've made it this far, and they've probably got something to show for themselves as well. So I'm just excited to see the matchup in general.
Absolutely. We do see Supernova occasionally entering these tournaments. I don't think I recognize any of these players except maybe one or two, but they are a relatively larger organization, so that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. And this is Supernova Academy, one of the sister teams or children teams, however you want to phrase it,
yes,
for the Supernova organization.
And while we were all chattering about that, we did see bans happening pretty quickly, and a first pick of Vladimir.
Makes a lot of sense. Vladimir, I mean, he's received a few nerfs, mainly just numerical nerfs. Some of his damage numbers and health numbers have gone down a little bit, but he's still just such a potent threat. That's the thing about a champion like Vladimir. Even with the rework, his kit is still relatively binary. You know, he either does the thing he's going to do, he accomplishes his goal, or he doesn't. And provided the numbers are there for him to be able to accomplish the goal, provided he does enough damage and has enough health, he's always going to be a solid pick.
Absolutely. That's how sustained champions typically go. Either they're, I said binary. We do see Karma and Sivir being first picks, so lots of movement speed coming out of that bottom lane. And another fast lock-in. We see Lucian and Braum.
I like the Karma Sivir as a reaction to the first pick of Vladimir. One of the better ways to play around a Vladimir in a team fight is to simply outmaneuver him, because that's his main weakness. He doesn't have gap closers. He doesn't have a way to chase somebody down and stick to them until he builds them in the form of items with the proto belts and with Rylai's and all these utility items that he is wont to build. So just being able to outmaneuver the Vladimir might be a really good solution, but picking a Sivir lane does mean that you're a little bit open to being outdueled in the lane itself, and Supernova Academy is going to hop on that opportunity with Lucy and Braum.
Absolutely. And speaking of more things, we do get to see the new reworked Ryze coming right out of the gate. That's nice. And we can't wait to see how he plays. And we do see Gragas locked in, so it's very likely going to be a Gragas jungle.
This is the real rework. This is the one that's going to stick.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
How many times has he been reworked? Like 4 or 5 times now?
Depends on what you'd quite qualify as a rework, but he's been tweaked and soft reworked and hard reworked a total of like 4 times now, I think. Maybe even approaching 5. It's getting a little bit ridiculous, but
just a bit.
Realm Warp, I think, is such a neat tool, and once people start to actually use that, and once we see more Realm Warps happen in competitive play, I don't think they'll be able to take away that tool from his kit anymore without a lot of people getting really tilted about it. So
yeah,
I think this iteration of Ryze might just be the one that sticks around.
I agree. I think this one has the best chance of sticking out of any of the others for sure. And speaking of more things, we do see a Lee Sin and a Fiora locked in. Haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah. I'm a little worried at the sort of lack of hard, reliable CC that Supernova has on their roster. But my god, do they have damage. They have got so much damage.
There is certainly no lack of damage. But you're right about the lack of engage. They only have a Lee Sin and a Braum for any kind of chance for an engage.
Mm-hmm. And as far as like lockdown goes, it's basically just concussive blows. There's no other stuns in their whole roster. There's a single source of hard, reliable crowd control, which is sometimes not a good thing. Especially when you're against sort of machine gun mages like Ryze, even post rework, that still is the very playstyle that you go for on Ryze. You just pump out as much damage as possible. And somebody like Jax, I think Jax would actually be a really great pickup here for the side of Midnight Gaming, and it looks like with the clock timing down, that is what they're going to lock in. Jax can run rampant against the team that doesn't have the CC to stop him.
Absolutely. They're definitely going to have a bit of a chore dealing with both two big major threats like Rising Jacks at the same time.
Yeah, especially with Sivir and Karma able to speed them in. And Gragas thrown in the mix just for some good engage disengage potential. I think compositionally, I uh, I see Midnight coming out victorious here. We'll have to see whether Supernova Academy can just mow them down with the huge guns that they have, though. The
Absolutely.
massive amount of damage.
That's another thing is with the Sivir and the Karma that gives them really strong disengage tools as well.
Hmm.
So this is I definitely am in favor of Midnight Gaming's roster here, what they have it set up. But maybe we'll just have to see if Supernova Academy can prove us wrong there.
Yeah, we do have the spectator delay to get through though, so I think we'll be tossing it over to a bit of light listening, maybe a waiting screen for you folks as we do get into the match.
Yep, very small commercial break. We'll be back once we are in the game. All right. And here we are. We are in game.
Oh boy. First game of the night, folks. Here with Reverie Esports, and I believe our 54th League of Legends Open. And tonight we have Supernova Academy on the blue side facing off against Midnight Gaming on the red. And this is a match I am particularly hyped for.
Looks like we're seeing a standard line of scrimmage, except for very greedy Vladimir just sitting in the middle, not even bothering to try and check to see if anyone's there.
Greedy, I mean, yeah.
Lazy?
Lazy. Lazy is a better word. That is the better vice to apply to this
It's
strategy.
certainly more accurate. Greedy is just,
And
you're right that greedy is not the correct term there.
it's a really defensive ward placement from Supernova Academy in their tri-bush. It looks like we may be seeing, as Lee Sin's sitting on the top side of the map, we may be seeing the Duo bot lane go for a Krug camp take with that much of a defensive emphasis placed on the bottom side of the map, and with the jungler starting on the top side potentially, but Lee Sin is coming down to the bottom now, so.
Never mind.
Well, it's an interesting strategy nonetheless. And in a best of one, I think it is the right call to not go for that sort of deep vision contestation, to play rather defensively, because you don't want to throw away your chance of getting into the finals tonight just because you felt like pulling out some strange 6 strat and it happened to get countered by accident.
Absolutely. It's always extremely risky to go for early aggression or to be not being paying attention to get killed by early aggression. So
The sword does cut both ways, I suppose. As we get to see the new Rise here in mid lane.
I do look forward to seeing some Realm Warp plays.
Oh man, that's going to be so much fun. Realm Warp with Sivir ulti and, of course, Karma's area of effect speed buff as well. There's going to be so much mobility on the side of Midnight Gaming.
And we'll have to get to see if the Fiora buffs in the previous patch, we'll see if they'll come into play here. But she is getting bullied a little bit. Oh, returning the favor, though.
Yeah, this matchup, I would say, is something of a skill matchup between Fiora and Jax. It's really just about who is able to sort of mind game the lane a bit better. But it is Tuesday's getting jumped on. There's that concussive blows stacked up. Piercing Light comes through along with a double tap from Toast. That's quite a bit of damage soaked up by that Karma. The early level 2 advantage going over to Supernova Academy's bottom lane.
Getting a little poke in there through the minion. Taking the time to try and heal up some.
And
but
this is what I was talking about in Champ Select. The emphasis on picking up Karma and Sivir early did leave them a little bit open in terms of the 2v2 lane. I honestly, to some degree, anticipated them going for a lane swap so they could hold down the Fiora and avoid this 2v2. But it seems like they didn't want to put Jax into a 2v1. That's probably the reason why they didn't opt for that early game strategy.
Absolutely. We do see that Jax is a little on his back foot currently, but he is keeping up NCS, but he is running out of potions. And here comes a Lee Sin gang.
More trouble. Yeah, Roven is caught up by Zeusy, but Vinceria is there to save him.
Vinceria also getting a little low. Ooh, it's Tuesday again.
Move it down. Yeah, meanwhile, Tuesday on the bottom side of the map is going to be in some trouble once again. Yillian does get the proc off the spell shield as Vinceria is just calmly and casually basing with a few hundred hit points and a Lee Sin mark on him. And it looks like no first blood will happen quite yet.
No greed come out of the Zeusy there.
Was not suffering from Lee syndrome.
Absolutely.
It's a terrible condition that plagues many solo queue players.
I've fallen to it a couple times myself.
Oh, a nice counter-strike from Roven, but Eggnog is still going to get the better of that trade. As it is Tuesdays again getting dashed on. This time has to flash away. Has to might have been a little bit of a generous phrasing, but does anyways. Maybe preemptively.
Absolutely. We'll have to see if he starts calling himself Monday.
Oh, Vincere.
Vincere
managed to head back home.
He is back with a vengeance at full health.
Man, Donger Salesman is playing that lane so aggressively. A really nice Q from Zuse, but an equally nice body slam from Vincere. Going to be holding him up so that he can't take that resonating strike. He's still coming forward, though, but Vincere is going to body slam him once again, shutting down the hopes and dreams of this Lee Sin. And there's the flash away as Rover finishes off Eggnog.
So Midnight Gaming picking up the first blood and saving Vincere's life so that he doesn't return that gold back.
Yeah, and Vincere was able to base and come back to topside before Zusi's Lee Sin had left the area. And I mean, Zusi, I think maybe played it just a little bit too slow. And then when Gragas was around, still went in for the opportunity. It was just kind of a matter of timing there.
I agree. We do see that Zusi did land that Sonic Wave, but wasn't able to finish it. The body
Mm-hmm.
slam pushed back him enough that Roven was able to get out of range so that he couldn't cast the ability a second time to dash to him and kill him.
Yeah, there was some real synergy there. And, something interesting that we're seeing from Roven, he's picked up the Hextech revolver.
That is an interesting buy.
I mean, gunplay has always been a staple of Jax, and I could certainly see that
Oh,
as
we
being
see
the first
Venturi in
pick.
bot lane again.
Yeah, Toast is the one targeted here. It is Tuesday, just about gonna get the snare onto him. Donger Salesman's going dangerously low himself, but it is Tuesday. Without that summoner, might be in some trouble. He has to back away from the front lines of this fight. Donger Salesman with only a few hundred health left is gonna back off as well. Both supports fleeing for the hills. Now as another boomerang flies up, it does not quite find its target, and nobody will go down, but I maybe speak too soon. Wretched King has roamed from the mid lane and has found himself the easiest kill of his life in the form of Zusi in that bush. Now flashing under the turret, he's gonna try and exercise this new rise. But it doesn't look like he's going to be in for too much, as Donger Salesman's going to land a double body slam, and Toast will fall. Yillian prinking up the kill onto Donger Salesman, and that's actually the execute even onto Tuesday.
Tuesday not giving the kill away to keep the score at 0-5, with Midnight Gaming firmly taking control of this game at this point.
As Roven's going to go in for the trade onto Ednog here.
Eddog getting out traded there for sure. Could not land the riposte in time.
I think a lot of this lane matchup is about the Counter-Strike versus the riposte, as they are fairly similar mechanics. And whichever one is able to mind game the other into using their defensive mechanic first is then going to be able to burst the other one down, because otherwise they'll both be rather glass cannonish in the early game at the very least.
Absolutely. See that Vladimir doing some nice wave clear with Tuesday having roamed to the mid lane to pick up some of that experience. Well, Wretched King bases and is now returned to lane.
Must be a little bit frustrating for Hopeful here, as he's done a pretty decent job of holding his own in the lane against this new rise, but just the plays across the rest of the map from the side of Midnight Gaming have really outshone what Hopeful's team has been able to accomplish. And while Zusi's often been in the right place at the right time, he's just not been able to have the follow-up perhaps from his team, or he's been outplayed in the 2v2 with Vincere in that top lane gank for the first blood.
Absolutely. Venturi is having quite a game. He has 100% kill participation currently. And looking to possibly gank this bottom side again, but there is a ward in that bush. They think they know it's there.
Yeah, I don't think Gragas is going to be able to find another opportunity down here. Toast and Donger Salesman seem pretty on their toes about it. Though it's sort of persuaded them to play less aggressively in the 2v2 at the very least.
Absolutely. We see Hopeful getting some nice damage in.
Yeah, Hopeful's been doing a pretty good job. I mean, it's not too hard to be a lane bully as Vladimir. And I got to give some credit to Wretched King as well. He's held fairly even. But, like, an even mid lane is not the thing that's going to pull you out of a 5-0 kill deficit.
So you gotta start finding ways to pick up some kills or some side objectives.
Meanwhile, in top lane, we have the Fiora ulti dropped. The Grand Duelist is going in onto the turret. Or perhaps not, as Roven's going to be able to walk his way out of there.
See, Zusi is nearby. Vincere is once again back in that top side. Looking for
Looks
it.
like he's going to surprise Zusi. That's a good Gragas combo. He's going to hold him away from the wall. There's the flash in from Roven. He got the ward hop. Does he survive? No, the red buff kills him as he flashes away, and Vincere flashes over to fall.
Poor Zusi. Almost was able to get away from that.
He's had a rough time of it this early game, and now he's building into the full tank lease, and he's just going to try and provide some utility for his team with Dragon's Rage. But with the really high damage composition that Supernova Academy has drafted here, I'm really worried for them that they haven't been able to hold their own in the early game, because that's going to be the well from which all of your damage flows. And if that well is dry, you aren't going to be able to team fight very well without a lot of utility.
So it's certainly going to be a massive struggle. We see Wretched King and Hopeful going at it a bit.
Some nice Rise combos from Wretched King. And there are a few different ways you can use the new Rise, but Hopeful is going to take this opportunity that He's pretty sure he's found, and he's going to take himself a kill. Nicely done. And the first kill on the board for Supernova.
Some much needed gold for them. We see Vegetarian slowly deciding if he wants to roam down to mid or he's going to go back top. Sees Ednog extending a little bit. Thinks he can get a kill here.
Trades have been relatively even up top, even with Ednog down a kill, but Vincere showing up certainly does tip the scales a bit. A flash away. Ednog is looking to try and survive here.
And he gets
Looks like he'll
away.
be able to. Yeah, that was a nicely placed riposte. I think it actually blocked the body slam damage and, of course, the CC involved as well.
Definitely saved his life. But we see Vincere proxying the wave, but he does not see him. Does not see Ednog there.
And it looks like it's been a real focus in the top lane between these two teams. It makes a lot of sense with such a snowbally lane as Fiora versus Jax.
Going to be very, very much feast or famine up until the late game.
At which point it will be who can feast the harder. But I don't think we're going to be pulling this game out to the late game, not with the pattern that we've seen here. With all the aggression, as Zusi is diving in onto the bottom lane turret, they are looking to try and get some sort of recompense for all the losses they've suffered, but they're just going to have to burn summoners to get out of here. They cannot keep up with the amount of mobility coming out of a Sivir and a Karma. And now the teleport in, as well as the roam down from mid and top lane respectively. Zusi is caught out and will fall.
Poor Zusi.
King picking it up.
They really don't like Tuesday, but he's the heal and the upgraded shield was enough to keep him alive just long enough for them to decide, well, we can't keep diving this turret. We got to back out now. And then the roam from Wretched King to pick up Zusi. And as a side bonus, they get the dragon.
Nat and Drake going to be going over to the side of Midnight Gaming, who seem to have a pretty firm grasp on this game.
It's definitely a struggle. We see Zusi is just not having any luck anywhere he goes.
And that's something you really can't afford to have on Lee Sin, you know, especially against Gragas. Like, this is not how the picture should be painted when you're playing the Lee Sin into the Gragas. You want to be the one who's snowballing through the early game. You want to be the one who's picking up 100% kill participation on the board. Because the Gragas is going to have more utility than you do in the team fights. You've got to outscale him in the early game if you want to have a hope of competing with him in the mid and late.
Absolutely. It's not like Gragas has low damage by any means as well, especially in the late game. So you want that, as he said, you want those early kills, you want to snowball, and it just isn't happening here.
I would just like to inform you, in fact, it seems that there's some small production error with the overlay on stream, as the Skype window can be seen over the gameplay.
Can it?
It seems to be. But Rovan now up in the top side against Eggnog. Eggnog going to be dropping down the ulti, looking for that healing, but he will be denied as Rovan brings him to his knees. The Grand Duelist no longer able to 1v1 against Jax.
Let me... my video preview is not working. Give me a second to see if I can fix this.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I'll keep the gameplay flowing for you while you work
Oh,
on that.
I see exactly what it is. Got it.
All right, good. Good to hear. There's the reverse Realm Orb of the game. Vincere and Wretched King going to be brought to the bottom lane by that new Rise ulti. There's the point-and-click snare that we know and love as Culling flies off wide, but it looks like Toast is still going to be able to get out of there. Now Vincere flashing away as Wretched King gets knocked under the turret by Dragon's Rage. There's concussive blows. One more hit would do it, but they simply do not have the confidence to keep chasing into this Rise. And it looks like he'll be able to walk his way out of there.
So very close to picking up both Vincere and maybe Wretched King, but they are playing it maybe a little too safe at this point.
I think another Brahmano might have been in order there, but Karma was coming down from the top side, and he didn't really have a lot of damage left to bring to bear to that fight, given that Toast had been chased away and all but murdered. It's looking pretty grim here for the side of Supernova.
Grim is definitely the appropriate word at this point. We see a 4K deficit, and I can't imagine the player morale is very high at this moment in time. See that?
Especially because, like, compositionally wise, I'd say that Midnight's team just scales better into the mid game fights, into the late game fights, things like that. They've got more utility. They've got a composition that doesn't need to rely on getting this early lead, unlike Supernova, who needed an early laning lead. They needed Fiora to come out of lane relatively strong. They needed Lee Sin to have an impact. And they didn't get either of those things, as Eggnog is clearly demonstrating to us. Rovan doesn't even take a scratch in the 1v1 anymore.
That was definitely super one-sided. We see Zusi getting picked up by Vincere here, possibly, but he is able to get out.
Okay, I guess ulti burned.
Yeah. Roven was
Honestly, that's
not.
not that bad.
It wasn't too bad. He does have a ton of CDR currently. See those Ionian boots and that Kindle gem. I'm going about that ultimate recover real quick.
And the last few months of League of Legends have been the slow rise of Ionian boots to the forefront of the boot meta, with the fall of boots of swiftness after their nerf. But we may be able to get back to that in just a moment, as Wretched King is being stunned up by the concussive blows. Here he's going to turn around and try and machine gun out as much damage as possible with an exhaust on his head. I don't think that'll be a real feasible plan. Zusi was there for moral support.
We do see a possible roam to this Fiora. 4 members of Midnight Gaming are heading that way, but they do see Hopeful here.
Yeah, not really a great plan to chase down a Vladimir through the jungle, though. He would have been able to buy a whole bunch of time for his team to show up. But it looks like their plan is instead just to go for the turret, but they may be halted as Hopeful comes in and burns the Vlad ulti just to scare him off.
We saw the disengage from the Sivir ultimate and the Karma speed boost as well. I was just... they saw Vlad ult and they bugged right out of there.
They were out of there in a jiffy. That much movement speed, my god. As we do actually see the completed Hextech Revolver now from Roven, which, ever since its changes, is actually an even more powerful and potent item on champions like Jax, who can use it to the fullest degree with AP ratios, AD ratios, and even benefiting from the, I believe, small amount of cooldown reduction that it now gives, though I'd have to check. No cooldown reduction. Attack damage ability power. But heals for 15% of damage dealt. Pretty darn strong. Omnivamp, as I like to term it.
Absolutely, and it's not like Jack has any small shortage of damage by any means.
Oh, no, not at all. And he doesn't... Pretty much all of his damage is single target. He doesn't take the penalty for area of effect damage that it has as a sort of caveat there. You only heal for, I think, 30% or 50% of the damage dealt if it's dealt as an AoE. Whereas since Jax is all single target, he's just going to be a sustaining monster now. He's going to be able to 1v1 literally anybody on Supernova's roster. Pretty much guaranteed.
Especially...
Oh, here's Realm Warp.
Oh.
Here's Wretched King and the Vincherry appearing out of thin air behind Toast, who was simply not ready for it, and he will go down.
Oh, and Ednog now getting engaged on. We see that him just melting under that damage.
Oh, yeah. Zusi's coming in, though. There's some backup here. Let's see if Roven can turn this one around or if he's just going to flee. He's going to leave strike backwards. He knows that his team has the pressure on the bottom side, so they really can't afford to keep chasing him. Oh. And he can maybe even go for this 2v1 here. Roven really doesn't have much else choice. He's going to come in, and there's that burst of damage from the third hit off of the passive. Grand Master at work here, folks. Roven now going to be coming in again. He does get slowed up by the Tempest Cripple, but a 1-for-0 and a 2-for-1 situation is nothing to be sniffed at.
Midnight Gaming also picking up that turret in the bottom lane. This is getting more and more grim as the lead slowly extends out. We see another Drake being picked up by Midnight Gaming, another Mountain Drake.
I don't know, slowly is the modifier I'd use at this point. The lead is getting larger and larger pretty darn quickly. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill and swiftly reaching the bottom, where it's going to absolutely crush Supernova, who, I don't know, drafted a little bit overconfidently, I think.
Just a bit, I think. I'd have to check their player. Maybe they just picked some of their comfort picks, which was not something you always want to do. Or maybe they thought some of these picks were stronger now. We did see Fiora and Lee Sin receive very minor buffs this previous patch, but nothing that would be game-changing by any means.
They had some promising moments at the start. They had a really good 2v2 matchup for the first few minutes of the game, that early level 2 that we saw, as well as just basically whenever Donger, Salesman, and Toast were left alone and there wasn't a jungler or mid laner involved, they were doing really well. But they really need to, if that's their strength, they need to play in such a way that they can be guaranteed of the 2v2, and they know that you're not going to have a Ryze realm warping in behind you or Roven teleporting in onto you, and that's just really difficult to do in the current meta. There's so much cross-map mobility nowadays.
Absolutely. We see things are slowing down a tiny bit. We see Midnight Gaming look like they want to gather mid here, possibly push down this mid turret. It's the only outer turret left at this point.
So Hopeful's credit. He's done a pretty darn good job of holding this mid lane.
Absolutely. There's one thing about Vladimir is there's certainly no shortage of wave clear.
Yeah, New Vladimir in particular, with Tides of Blood being reworked into an even more potent wave clearing tool.
And Rowan finally finding that pink ward that allowed Zusi to escape earlier.
I don't really see what Supernova's plan here, if, well, I don't really think they have one, but what their plan could be if they were going to try and deal with this Jax. Rovan now working on his second item. Looks like it could be any number of things, really, but I'm thinking a Trinity Force, perhaps, since he is so very far ahead, and that would just make him nigh on unstoppable.
Judging
We already
from
saw
the
he can handle the 2v1.
Absolutely. Judging from his item build, Trinity Force is very likely what he is going to be building. He has that Stinger. He has the pieces for Phage. See that silver wave clear?
Oh boy. And now, with Hopeful on the bottom side, and with Midnight Gaming able to field a few members to the mid lane, I don't think this outer turret is going to last very much longer. That was Rovan just popping the Gunblade passive. It doesn't have a very long cooldown, so I guess he just used it for the damage. And to kind of bully Eggnog away. And, well, now with the turret down, Eggnog really has nowhere left to run and hide. He's going to have to tumble backwards. And that's Rovan taking control of the top lane. 4-0 and 2 Jax at 20 minutes. That's a force to be reckoned with.
It is slightly terrifying. See that Hopeful and Wretched King. Wretched King not quite confident enough to take Hopeful in a one-on-one.
Yeah, but he doesn't really need to, you know. With the new cross-map mobility that Ryze has, he can just hold that wave, keep Hopeful trapped in the mid or bottom or whatever lane they opt to put that 1v1 into. And then whenever a team fight happens, just roam up the river about halfway and then Realm Warp in behind. Maybe bring your jungler with you.
Well, I look forward to seeing the opportunity for maybe a 5-man Realm Warp. That'd be awesome.
That would be something. That would be something to witness. I don't know if we're going to see it this game, just the way the map is playing out, but
This is definitely...
the potential is there.
Absolutely. There's a potential for a lot of really interesting ways to play with Realm Warp. We see full Supernova Academy, full all in mid lane, but Rovan and Vincherry heading to that bottom turret, looking to possibly steal it.
They cannot afford to ignore this Jax. It's not going to go well if they decide to leave him to his own devices, because his devices have a lot of turret destruction in mind. Now Donger Salesman getting caught out, clearing a ward is Zusi as well. He's caught out alongside him. There's some really good damage onto the jungler. Hopeful's coming in, but everybody's able to just run away from him. There's nothing a little Vladimir can do to keep up with that fight. Donger Salesman's gonna get Realm Warped on in the bush. Here comes two more members he may not have been expecting. And there's the Rune Prison. Donger Salesman will go down.
They were not interested in the dongers he was selling.
They were not at all. He was sent straight to Rune Prison. Hopeful is going to be flashing away after the Blood Pool. Or Sanguine Pool, pardon me.
Also casting that Ghost, but is still getting just locked up by tons of CC. Is he able to get away? Oh, it's
One
so...
more Karma auto would have done it.
That was so close.
Wasn't quite enough, though.
But
It was one of those little Karma autos flying his way, but it didn't quite do the amount of damage that it needed to.
definitely needed just a tiny bit more. We see Baron being engaged upon now. Not really a whole lot Supernova Academy can do to stop them at this point.
I think this is their best opportunity, though, sadly.
Zusi needing to steal, but it died before he can get into position, and he gets imprisoned and destroyed.
Yeah. Not really a lot that he could do there. He had to try, though. This game is slipping from Supernova's grasp so very quickly. Midnight has taken full control. A Baron now at only 23, 24 minutes into the match. It's rough.
They're definitely...
If you're Supernova right now.
Absolutely. They're grasping for any kind of straws they can grab hold of to grab something. Looking for a possible pick here.
Yeah, the Death Bush may be a strategy that turns in their favor, and it looks like It Is Tuesday is going to fall for the trap. He will go down. Actually, the flash away. There's the locket as well. He's got a lot of shields, but Donger Salesman closes it off with a winner spike. Wretched King, though, he's coming in. He wants to avenge his support. Donger Salesman going to get caught off from the rest of his team, and that is a lot of damage coming out of this new Ryze. Fully stacked Roa and a needlessly large rod to back it up. Yillian will clean up the kill as Ryze Realm Warps a few members of his team forwards. Hopeful going to get caught out here, and we have seen the absolute monstrous amount of utility that Ryze seems to bring to these fights. These mid-game skirmishes.
Just when they thought they're getting away, here comes a Realm Warp. That's the second time we've seen it used to cut people off.
It's such a great tool for continuing these fights, as you said. Like, just as they think they're going to get away, oh no, here's Ryze with the ulti, and everybody's already grouped up already because they were in the middle of a team fight. They were in the middle of a skirmish, so everybody just hops onto the big ol' circle with Ryze and gets bussed away to more murder.
You see
gonna
that
say it's great, but I don't really want to condone more murder.
murder is not necessarily always a good thing. We see Zusi getting caught out a little bit, but he is able to back out. They don't want to chase him. And that'll be a third Drake, Infernal Drake this time around, being picked up by Midnight Gaming.
And with 2 items strong, Roven is even more uncontestable on the top side. A valiant attempt from Zusi, and he makes it out, to his credit.
Those
But
defensive items definitely paying off and keeping him alive.
Rise's cross-map mobility combined with the unstoppable split-pushing force that is this top lane Jax, I think is going to simply suffocate Supernova out of this game, where they fell behind too much in the early game with a composition that needed to do the exact opposite.
The only lane that really, I can't really say the only lane. The bottom lane of Supernova Academy was doing fine up until, it turned into a 3v3.
Yeah, Donger Salesman and Toast were quite good in the 2v2, and I don't know if that's down to player skill or down to the matchup, as Lucian and Braum is one of the more powerful 2v2 lanes pretty much in the game, whereas Sivir, while powerful in mid-game team fights and certainly strong enough in lane, doesn't quite stand up to that. But that's really not enough, you pick these winning lanes so you can build an advantage, so you can use that to then win later team fights and win skirmishes and such. The League of Legends is not about the laning phase, it's about the advantages you procure through laning phase and thus move into the game itself, which is really the team fighting and the rotations. And
Absolutely.
skirmishing.
Some matchups, it's if you're even, you're behind.
Oh, Toast is getting 2v1 here by Roven, who is more than happy to leap into the face of an AD carry and a support, but maybe not an AD carry support and jungler.
He very well may have picked up Toast there if it hadn't been for Zusi.
That's pretty true. Toast actually still had to burn heal at the very end of that fight. Hopeful coming in, he's got the Hemoblade down, but once again, he's simply unable to capitalize on anything. They can kite him back really hard.
Absolutely. We see a Realm Warp.
Yeah. Rise coming in. Ednog gonna be tagged by that Q. Ednog gonna be tagged by a lot more than just that one Q. Wretched King is on a killing spree. Good lord, that is some damage coming out of Rise.
I believe Fiora was at half health and then simply evaporated.
Evaporated is a really good way to put it. Zusi now slammed against that wall by Vincere's body slam is going to be going down as Wretched King is on a rampage. Well deserved. There's the Ghost from Hopeful. He's looking to play around the edges of this team fight as well. But while they fiddle, Rome indeed burns. And it looks like the inhibitor in top lane, the second inhibitor of the game, is going to go down. Flash forward from Donger Salesman, actually. He's going aggressive here. Aggressive in lane and aggressive in team fights. This Braum has been playing forward, and not always to a great effect, but Vincere is getting burned decently low. A Culling comes out of Toast, but that super minion is going to hero block the majority of it, and Vincere will make his way out.
We didn't really get a chance to see it, but we saw Donger flash in there to try and land a point-blank Winter's Bite. We saw a really nice spell shield out of Yillian to block that, completely preventing the proc from happening, so that really kind of probably saved his life. Nice little reaction.
And as an aside, I would just like to mention that Roven has a Guardian Angel as his third item.
Why not?
He's just trying to be this, like, rolling, unstoppable top lane split pushing force. And I mean, he's achieved it. There's 2 inhibitors down. The amount of pressure which Midnight has exerted this game is pretty immense. As we move here close to the 30-minute mark with the game looking almost decided, really.
It's going to take the biggest miracle possible to possibly allow Supernova Academy to make a comeback here. And there needs to be an outside force, like internet's going out, meteor striking their house, it's something. Other than
Always
that,
with the meteors effect. Always with the meteors.
it's a possible situation, just not likely.
I suppose it is. I suppose it is technically, yes.
If I was going to stop for something, a meteor might be one of them.
I don't think you need to hedge your bets there. I think you can say a meteor would be one of them. I don't think you need to say might in that sentence. As speaking of might, Roven is exerting quite a bit of it in the top lane. He's going to be landing that stun on the Ednog, who dashes away. And with 2 men required just to keep this Jax from steamrolling the rest of their base down, Supernova is only able to field 3 in a 3v4 on the bottom side. And this is the power of a 5-1-3 Jax.
He's certainly very dangerous. Donger Tailman getting locked up there.
Playing the front line for his team, but not for very long. He does go down. Now Toast having to flash away as Roven actually flashes out from the back line of the enemy team. And it looks like a momentary disengage as the inhibitor is going to be focused down here, but there's the re-engage with the Realm Warp brought to the back of the enemy team. It looks like Supernova is actually going to be able to answer back with 1 kill of their own. They lose the inhibitor for it, though, so the trade's still so far pretty darn solidly in favor of Midnight, but we'll see if Supernova can take any more potential advantages here. There's the Ghost Pop from Wretched. He's just looking to reposition as much as possible during this fight. Output damage wherever it's needed. Nice spell shield there from Yillian. And it looks like with 3 inhibitors down, Supernova is grasping at what remains of this team fight, but they will not be allowed to grab it at all. And they're going to have to go back to cleaning out some minions.
That is 3 inhibitors all down for Supernova Academy, whereas they've not even taken a single turret. That's rough.
It's about as rough as it gets. I mean, potentially it gets a little rougher with 2 Nexus turrets remaining. I suppose they could also lose those, but...
As well as Hopeful has done, he's been getting massively kited out this entire game. Whenever he gets a Hemoplague down, they just disengaged by Yillian, and it's Tuesday.
That's why I was a little worried you didn't pick some bans here for the side of Supernova. I mean, they have some really powerful tools, but they have nothing to enable those tools with. You know, they don't have the Sivir or the Karma on their side. They don't have any hard CC or engage. Now, Zeusie's going to be locked up. He does have the ward to hop to get out of there, but there's a Realm Warp coming in. He was hoping the Krug would be on the other side of that wall, but it had despawned, or rather, it had been murdered earlier, and Zeusie will go down.
Speaking of murder, there goes Zeusie.
Yeah, this is going to be the second Baron of the game now for the side of Midnight Gaming, and I think this is going to be the tool that they use to close out the match in its entirety.
And we do see 30 seconds where Zeusie is back, but the game very well be ended before that point happens.
I was going to say this is the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's more like the iron girder that just squashed the camel into a paste. Midnight has just taken advantage after advantage this game.
And Donger not going to be selling any Dongers there.
As Roven comes in for a good amount of damage. There's Vincherry now diving into the Nexus itself. Midnight Gaming holds this game firmly in their grasp. Toast will fall. And it looks like we're going to be waving goodbye to Supernova Academy and saying hello to Midnight as they advance onwards.
A valiant effort, but little. The team composition could use work. Their choices in champions kind of gave them no ability to counterattack or engage it any way they could.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that they picked a horrible team composition in theory. It's that they picked a team composition that required very specific execution and then did not execute it correctly. And that's going to backfire in their faces. As we saw, 6-23 is not a great kill score overall.
Absolutely. Definitely a struggle. It looks like we're going to be able to actually jump right into the next semifinal match. So I'm going to go ahead and spectate it. You can spectate off of me.
Oh, for sure.
And let me check the bracket. I don't remember the bracket off the top of my head. It is a Victorious Esports Friends. Am I reading that right? I have to open up the...
Oh, they're friends. That's so nice.
Frenzy. I couldn't see the last.
Okay,
I couldn't see the last 3 letters.
Different word.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a different word.
Okay.
Frenzy is the sort of thing that comes to mind when you think rampaging and pillaging barbarians. Friends is not.
Yes, it is a little bit different. Versus Wacko Bandits. Let me see who is where.
All right.
Wacko Bandits is on the red team. And
just to make sure we're on the same page, are you sitting in game yet? Or are you still?
I am in game watching. Okay. Well, I make some adjustments to the names on OBS.
Oh, we have Nameless King now in the 1v1 with Not Clannon. Not Clannon going to be popping there into that chrono break. And I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. I'm looking at about the 9-minute mark on the clock effect.
8:59, 9 minutes, 9:01, 9:02.
There we go. We are on the same page. That's good. That's what I like to see. All right. Well, we didn't get to see the picks and bans for this match as we are loading in a little bit further into the match as it's already been undertaken a little bit. So let's talk about the compositions here while we have some quiet on the Rift. I like seeing Alawi and Talia. I like it. Which team did we have on red again?
Red side is Wacko Bandits.
Wacko Bandits, all right. I am a fan of Wacko Bandits already. Pickin' Talia, pickin' Alawi. Bringing out the new toys. And we got to see reworked that's a hard one to say 10 times fast. Reworked Rise today. Good God.
It's been a good tournament already. Ooh, see, Ganker getting melted.
No respect for the early damage from Turtle Swag and Ansiom there. Talia and Elise can output a lot of burst. A lot of burst. Talia has next to no damage unless you play her right, in which case she has all the damage, which is very difficult to execute on, which is why you see it, why it took a little while for her to get into competitive play. Aetherstar gonna be bursted down. He has to flash actually off of that disruption from Ansiom. Ansiom now coming in to the fight, is in the thick of things as Turtle Swag finishes off the Flashless Lady carry. There's Ardent Blaze, and there's a double tap from Dazik 1212. He's on a killing spree. Meanwhile, Turtle Swag is gonna just about go down. Sad. That Weaver's Wall. There was an attempt at saving his jungler with the Weaver's Wall there. A nicely placed one, too. Sadly, it didn't quite work out. Mount Black 23 is going to be falling. There's Spitting Earth, but it doesn't land! No! Sorry, Threaded Volley. That's the name of that one. Threaded Volley is the name of Talia's Q. I keep wanting to call it Spitting Earth, and I have no idea why.
And there was
I
the
don't think
casket.
any of her abilities are actually named Spitting Earth.
I'd have to double check, because I can't confirm or deny that at this point. I can't remember.
Alright, this is going to bother me. Threaded Volley, Seismic Shove, Unraveled Earth, and Weaver's Wall. So there's no Spitting Earth in there. I really don't know where I pulled that one from. But, you know, it could work, you know?
I see it.
The ability could be called Spitting Earth.
I can agree with that. I definitely see that. Speaking of things, this match has already been full of excitement.
Yeah, it definitely has. I've had my work cut out for me as a play-by-play in the first minute that we've been watching this, and it's been really enjoyable, honestly. I love seeing new things, and there's a Sona. We talked about the Talia and the Alawi and how that's exciting, but there's a Sona as well, and I mean, Sona may not be quite as new to the League of Legends as
She
some of the
did
other
get some
picks.
new changes. I wouldn't call them outright buffs, but...
Oh, Holy Goose might be in some trouble. There's Ganker getting knocked back by that Seismic Shove.
And eating a lot of damage in the process. Looks like it stung a little bit.
The thing that I really like about Talia, and that I find really fun about her kit, and about the relevance will be made clear, but also about the Poppy rework, is how they both punish mobility. Because there's been a lot of complaints about sort of mobility creep in the game, and you see it even in the match that we're looking at right now. Like, if we look at just the roster of 10 that we got here, we got 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 if you count Harsh Punishment off of Alawi, which really not super high mobility, but, and then we've got 3 on the enemy team. So 6 dashes total out of 10 champions, and some of them have multiple forms of mobility, and then there's Sivir ulti. So I just love the way that Unraveled Earth punishes people who try and dash into a fight, punishes people who try and use mobility in certain areas. It's a really great way to combat mobility creep without just straight up removing abilities from the game or reworking champions that have too much mobility or something.
Absolutely. You have to choose whether or not you want to eat a lot of damage or not go in.
Yeah. And with Poppy, it's similar. Steadfast Presence will just simply cancel out movement abilities. I think it's really good design philosophy when there's some sort of problem with the game, when something's unhealthy, to give players a tool to work around it and to interact with it, rather than to simply remove it or to just solve the problem yourself as a developer that way. Holy Goose, though, might be in some trouble. That's some really good damage coming out of Ansiom's Talia, but the kill does not quite go down as Ansiom got shoved back underneath the turret. There's the slide in from the soldier, but Ansiom will finish it off with that threaded volley. Turtle Swag gonna be flash body slammed onto by Ganker, though, and it's a 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane.
We see Nameless King was also forced to back off in that top lane. There's a little bit of bouncing back and forth between mid lane and top lane there.
Oh, there's a flash in from Quick, and he gets it with the power cord.
The roaming Sona.
Oh, the Roma. Rona. The Rona.
Rona.
Hey.
There you go. Got it. Nailed it.
Ah, nailed it every time.
It's vicious. I'm sorry. It's Vicious Esports, not Victorious Esports.
Yeah, Vicious Esports versus Wacko.
Wacko Bandits.
Wacko. Is that Wacko the place? Are they from Texas? Are they representing?
I don't think so.
I'm broadcasting to you from Houston, by the way. Oh, Aether Star, though, down to just a few hundred hit points. The culling does not quite have the damage that Dazzek needed, but a really nice double pulverize gives Dazzek the time. He dashes away, but he still just about gets caught by that crescendo. Now, Quick is going to get knocked back by the Erupting Earth, I believe that's what it's called, as there's the flash in from out back, but a really beautiful spell shield. And Dazzek is going to get punished for his aggression under the turret. He doesn't quite go down to the turret shot. The heal kept him alive. But here comes Riot Conan, or not Conan, pardon me. A Nameless King's going to be dashing in there with Harsh Punishment, but he gets stunned up by that Parallel Convergence. Nakulanen, though, is marked by the Test of Spirit. Ancion's going to get ignited here. That's some damage from the Shrima Shuffle. Holy Goose is going to be coming in to finish off 2 kills from the mid lane. Nicely done.
You couldn't really see it from that angle, but Holy Goose had a very nice play there. He went around the little minefield practically, instead of going through it with the dash.
Oh, and there's the phase dive from Nakulanen. His Nameless King brings down the kill on the Holy Goose, and you know, this skirmishing, it just never seems to end. Nakulanen is going to be picking up a kill, and he's going to be chrono breaking backwards to get a little bit of health before he continues the chase. Looks to get a bit of beef on his table for dinner tonight, and he's going to pick up a double kill. And
that leaves Vicious Esports taking a very small lead here. But honestly, you can't really tell who's going to win at this point. They're just picking up kills left and right, both teams.
Nakulanen and Quick, though, may be going for this tower dive. A little bit overconfident, I think, to go for that one, especially with Echo ulti being not available. But speaking of overconfident, Dazzek is dashing forwards. Nakulanen is going to turn it around, but he has to flash away. Dazzek going to be dashing forwards once again. Just 50 health to his name, but, you know, what's the difference between 50 health and your full health bar? You still get to shoot off Cullens. You still get to fire bullets.
You're not dead until you hit 0. Nope.
There's started volley, but none of them are going to connect. And Holy Goose will be donated a blue buff. And oh my god, can we have a moment? It looks like we can have a moment here.
I think things are calming down for just a second.
What's going on? And one of the things I'd like to take stock of is the fact that Nakulanen is 6-0-4 and building into AP Echo, it looks like. Well, AP off tank. He's also got a Bammy Cinder mixed in there.
When I saw the Sheen, I thought he was going to go for the Iceborne Gauntlet, but he has definitely changed it up a little bit here.
I can really understand it. A lot of since Echo was like king of the top lane, he no longer is, but a few patches ago, when he was for the longest time just king of the tanks and king of the top lane, they've since changed him around a few times and gotten rid of some of his base values in exchange for better scaling ratios, because they evidently want him to be sort of high pressure, high mobility assassin playstyle.
Yes.
And so building into a Lich Bane just makes a lot of sense, especially when you're this far ahead.
Definitely can't say no to trying to snowball when you have a 6-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
Nameless...
Especially against a lane that you can punish as well as an Alawi. That's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of Alawi play. Which is unfortunate in my opinion. I absolutely love the champ and I love her kit. I think it's really well designed. But there obviously are flaws, and if you're behind as Alawi, it's very difficult to come back. There's Quick getting caught out, though.
That's not the first time Quick's been picked up there trying to do something.
He's got a very aggressive style of playing, and you know that can either pay off big or really backfire. And it's done both in this game. I mean, we saw the flash kill onto Ancien under the turret, and now we see him get caught and killed alone in the enemy jungle as he's going for some deep ward coverage.
Where's everybody going here? We see Nakulanen hanging out in that mid lane, pretty close to that, just a little north of it.
Yeah, they may be anticipating a tower dive here.
He's gonna go back out then. Oh, he's gonna take the Raptor camp first. Make up your mind! Ooh, Ganker in a lot of trouble again!
Yeah, and Ganker has built basically full damage at this point. He's got the damaged jungler item, the Runic Echo, as well as the Sheen. Ancien, though, is looking to keep this fight going. Mount Black is going to have to flash away, but he's still in pulverize range. Turtle Swag now going to be going down to half health, but finishing off the kill on the Holy Goose is a perfectly viable trade for that. And with Mount Black still in that unbreakable will, he's going to be perfectly fine underneath that turret. Ooh, nice cocoon on the Quick.
And show off the flare. We see Nameless King still in the top lane, trying to make a recovery. Still obviously a little behind here. Only having that death dance to his name.
I'd really like to see the Swifty Boots choice from Ancien. I like that on Talia because she is such a mobile champion already. You're just kind of stacking on that advantage. I'm a little wary of it because of the recent nerfs to Swifty boots. They are not nearly as powerful as they used to be, and a lot of players are saying they're just not worth buying anymore in almost any circumstance. But it does allow her to sort of stack that out of combat movement speed if she's got maybe out of combat movement speed and masteries as well, and just roam across the map really effectively.
So she is a very strong roaming champion as she
Oh
currently.
yeah.
Lots of mobility, lots of ability to get around the map.
Yeah, and it's certainly a viable strategy in League of Legends to just stack on the advantages that you have, like find something that your character or you as a player are really good at and just press that advantage as much as possible. So since Ancium did buy into the early Swifty boots, I'm expecting to see some map mobility coming out of the roster here for Waco Bandits.
See, Holy Goose. The moment he saw Anselm there, he just like, I'm gonna go and back out. We do see, kind of surprised we're seeing Azir. I guess I shouldn't say surprised. He's still strong, but he got nerfed again this previous patch. Not a
It's going
heavy
to take a
amount.
lot. It's going to take a lot to get Azir out of the meta. That man, he's just got it all. But Nameless King, he's in for the 1v1. He has to actually flash out of there.
The
Not
moment
planning
he's
is too much of a force to be reckoned with now.
definitely a little scary. He has that Sunfire finish net, so he's even tankier. Has the more damage. Oh, first dragon of the game, it looks like.
And I think Bruiser Echo is the way forward for anybody who is looking to play Echo. He's not nearly as popular anymore, but I still think he's very strong with a little bit of damage mixed into a tanky kit. Oh my god, he is completely outplaying Nameless King here. He will be slammed on by those last 3 tentacles, but he dodged every other tentacle, and also the Test of Spirit. Everything that you can dodge from an Alawi's kit, he dodged in there. That was very well played. Quick gonna have to flash over the wall. As here comes, speaking of walls, Weaver's wall. Gonna be cutting Quick off and the rest of his team, forcing out that Sona ulti.
Quick,
Earth comes down.
Quick was able to get away, barely. Holy Goose is in trouble again, though. He's going to be picked up here probably, and he goes down.
Another beautiful engage from Mount Black. Mount Black, pardon me. This Alistair play has been on point this game in all of these skirmishes, and there's the double kill going over to Turtle Swag. Another nice cocoon from Turtle Swag, but not Clan, and still lands a double stun with the parallel convergence. Ancium gets the benefit of the seal from his AD carry, though. There's the flash in from Not Clannon, but they just can't finish off this Talia. Not Clannon has to break out of there chronologically, and it looks like Nameless King is going to go wild in this fight. There's the double kill to Dazik. Beautifully played from the Waco Bandits.
Oh, they're so low. Not Clannon barely getting out alive himself. He just couldn't.
It's the mark of a great team fight, though, when everybody's down to 200 health, but nobody's dead.
It's definitely. I'm starting to see that the Wacko Bandits definitely seem to have more control of this game. Their only one who's really behind is Nameless King on that Alawi.
Mm-hmm.
And Not Clannon is basically keeping Vicious Esports afloat here, basically.
And I have to wonder how powerfully the Echo is going to scale into the late game. Not Clannon will be a nuisance for sure, especially since he's going for what appears to be more tanky than damage now as we move towards the mid game. But I don't think he's going to be able to carry unless he gets some more impetus behind him. Perhaps Holy Goose starting to scale a bit stronger, finishing a few extra items, or some really good engages from Ganker and Aetherstar. He has to have a little bit more wind behind his wings if they want to fly to victory here.
Necessarily. We see Azir has finished that. Oh, Dazik in a little trouble here, possibly.
Clannon's very happy to dive, even under a secondary turret here. He's not going to quite be able to catch up to the Lucian, who did have the Yumus to speed himself out. That would have been a really powerful kill, because Lucian's currently sitting at 7-0 and 1. Would have been a lot of shutdown gold, but unfortunately they aren't quite able to capitalize. I have to wonder what the way forward here is for Vicious.
They probably need Holy Goose to start putting out the DPS without dying. He's had a couple of decent plays, but he gets bursted very easily. He does have that finished Rylai's now, though, so that should keep him healthier.
Yeah, it's a pretty darn big spike.
And, of course, gives him the increased utility of the slows on his ability attacks.
Yeah, that alongside Aetherstar able to speed him in there with On the Hunt. I actually imagine that Vicious could win a teamfight if it's taken on the correct terms. It's not too unlikely for them to do so. Even though we've seen Um, Waco picking up wins in most of the team fights and skirmishes that we've had go down so far.
Absolutely. Nameless King finishing off that Spirit Visage. He's a little tankier now. A little bit easier to deal with the magic damage being outputted. Engage here, though.
Yeah, Dazik is really the focus here, and for good reason. The man is 7-0-1, but this is kind of leaving the back line open. Turtle Swag, though, will be shut down, and here's Holy Goose. He wasn't touched at all. He was off to the side of the fight, and his soldiers are doing work, like you said. Aetherstar gets the kill credit, but that fight was all Holy Goose.
So he came in from the side, remained untouched, able to put out that DPS. Azir still being one of the highest DPS characters in the entire game.
That was a well played fight from the side of Vicious Esports. Not Clannon doing his job correctly. He dove to the back lines and he zoned out Dazik. I was a little worried because I thought that wouldn't quite be enough, as we saw a lot of his squishies get bursted down, Quick and Aetherstar in particular. But the fact that Holy Goose was split off from the rest of the priority targets, and they had to sort of split their focus if they wanted to bring him down as well, salvaged them out of that team fight that could have gone pretty bad for them.
Definitely making the recovery where they need. They actually are ahead in gold now. Not by a whole lot, but it is a good sign. We do see that CS leads are basically everywhere the same except for the mid lane and the top lane and the jungle. Quick getting caught out again, forced to flash.
There's another beautiful cocoon from Turtle Swag, who's been really on point with these games. This game, pardon me. Solid Elise play. We didn't really get to see a lot of the early jungle pathing and any lane ganks or anything along those lines, but Turtle Swag has been performing in these skirmishes and team fights at the very least.
I'd say has had an easier time than Ganker. Ganker obviously we've seen him get bursted 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
We see that he is tired of being bursted and he has purchased a Locket and a Giant's Belt.
Oh man! Speaking of item purchases, that's a Majai Soul Stealer from Not Clannon. And it was just purchased too, because it is at 10 stacks, which is what it sits at after you purchase it. There's Quick though, he's gonna get bursted over the wall, no flash anymore on that Sona. And another nice cocoon is gonna catch her out.
Quick is also not having the easiest time. His aggressive roams have been...
Oh, that parallel convergence, if he could have procced that. Okay, they didn't have vision in the bush, so they didn't know that they were all sitting in there. Oh man, that is like an Echo's wet dream right there. There were 5 people sitting in his parallel convergence, but he didn't know, so he didn't come phase diving over the wall.
If he had known, though, that'd have been pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man, if they go back and they rewatch the replays, they're gonna be so sad about that.
See, Vicious Esports going for that second dragon of the game. They're gonna go and pick it up.
Ocean Drake, pretty darn respectable, especially when you've got somebody like an Azir on your team who can play for the long game. Ooh, another really close cocoon. Turtle Swag is on point. He's got some great aim with those line skill shots, but Agragas is Agragas, and while you did say that Ganker has suffered some losses this game, he's going to build tank, he's going to have utility, and he's going to be pretty strong moving in the mid-game team fights. So.
Quick maybe caught out here. He's going to get melted.
And he turns out the crescendo, but it really only stops Ansium, and it does not stop the culling that stops him from living.
Ooh, Aether getting slowed up there.
Flash cocoon. Ganker, though, is a bit too tanky at this point to be insta-bursted.
He is tired of being bursted.
Yeah, he's built some pretty good counters to that in the form of a Locket. I like the Locket pickup. There's a lot of magic damage coming out of Waco Bandit's comp. Maybe one of the reasons why Nameless King picked that Alawi. There's the Emperor's Divide. Holy Goose going to save his life for a little bit longer there. And Unraveled Earth comes through, but it will not get the kill. Now a flash away from Ganker. As it looks like they're just going to chase off a few members of Vicious. Not pick up any kills quite yet. Not Clan's coming in, though. There's a 3-man parallel convergence. Does get cleansed away by Dazik. A 4-man Gragas ulti. The area of effects are hitting where they need to, but they simply don't have the health to follow up. Holy Goose is doing some good damage, though. Dazik may go down to the 1v1. The Ignite will tick, and he will fall, but not before bringing Holy Ghost to his knees. Now another 2-man parallel convergence as Not Clannon is looking to clean up as best he can. It looks like he'll be able to take a mid laner home for dinner tonight. Quick now coming in, taking revenge for all the time he's been caught out on the enemy support. As Nameless King looks to bleed out this 1v2 dry. He's got a lot of healing. I mean, this is a Spirit Visage Death's Dance Alawi. If anybody can survive, this Nameless King can, but
He does eventually go down and not able to continue up with that level of sustain.
it was more a problem of running out of mana there, really. I mean, obviously running out of health was a bit of a problem as well for him, but he didn't have the mana to continue to spam out his abilities. He couldn't Tentacle Smash anymore there.
Absolutely, and what looked like a possible win for for Wako Bandits there ended up being a win for Vicious Esports, with Not Clannon going 8-0 and 9 now,
Oh, yeah.
a monster of an Echo.
22 stacks on that Magi's, which does now stack to 25, by the way. So it's not a bug. It actually does stack past 20 nowadays. And he's going to have quite a bit of AP. Actually, I mentioned to see exactly how much.
He's in the 200 range currently, I think. I had to watch again.
Yeah, 240 is what he's sitting at. And I honestly think that Magi's is a lot more powerful on somebody who doesn't build raw AP like that. If you're ahead, obviously Magi's is always more powerful when you're ahead. But it's even more of a beneficial tool because it gives you a massive amount of AP for a small amount of investment in terms of both gold and, importantly, item slots, so that you can then dedicate other slots in your inventory to tanky items.
Such as Spirit Visage and a Giant's Belt, which is what he just purchased. So he's even more durable now.
It's like the enemy mage is also a tank at the same time, and that's just a horrifying thought.
Speaking of mages, we do see the Void Staff now picked up in Azir, so looking to maximize that DPS.
Yeah, triple item Azir. That's a real threat now. I mean, regardless of KDA, 5 and 6 could be 5-0 or 5 and 6. Doesn't matter. Triple item is super duper strong, and Holy Goose is gonna be, I imagine, a priority target for Waco Bandits in team fights to come.
Absolutely, Dazzik. Well, we did see him in that previous fight. Did focus him down, but they ended up killing each other. But Dazzik is now 10-1, so that's pretty good, to say the least.
And he's built rather defensively, honestly, for an AD carry with both a Mercurial Scimitar and a Hexdrinker. But we have a fight potentially breaking out down here. Not Clannon going to be going decently low as that Soul Tether keeps him at bay for a little bit longer. Turtle Swag coming in. We'll see if we get the God Cocoon again. This time it's right in the face of Ganker. He takes that body slam forwards happily. Not Clannon going to be tossed back by the Seismic Shove. Takes another good chunk of damage, but he's a rather tanky Echo. He's still got more than 1,000 hit points to work with.
Tanky might be an understatement. He is definitely one of the more durable Echoes I've seen in a long time.
Being 8-0 will do that for you. Turns out items are strong.
Who knew? Oh, a 5-man!
Pulverized from Mount Black, but we'll see what that's actually worth in the end. As 2 kills go over to the Echo, and the turret goes down to the Azir. A triple kill.
Oh man, that's such a
11-0.
that was such a beautiful pulverize. It's just kind of sad that there wasn't anything to follow it up with.
It's like an amazing piece of sculpture in the middle of a ruined city. It's beautiful to look at, but there's a lot of tragedy surrounding that.
Tragedy is definitely a good word.
For the side of Waco Bandits, tragic indeed. As they had a lead. I mean, we were talking about earlier what Vicious Esports could do to get back into this game, and now, I mean, the question's kind of reversed. What can Waco do to get back into this game?
They definitely need something. It's hard to say. None of their scoreline. I think it's basically Nameless King needs to be more. Everybody else seems to be doing fairly well. Nameless King is struggling.
That's for sure, yeah. It's kind of the nature of a low utility top laner. If they get behind, they just... I mean, deadweight is an ugly term, but it's kind of the only one that appropriately describes this sort of situation. And it's honestly not hugely the fault of Nameless King, honestly. Like, yes, he could probably have played the lane better, and yes, there are mistakes that were likely made. But Ilaoi just doesn't have a great time in a lane where she starts losing.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of emphasis placed on those first few plays that you make in lane as Ilaoi.
Well, the good news is for Waco Bandits is that Not Clannon is not going to be getting much stronger. He has full items now. The bad news is that he has full items.
It's small consolation that the enemy won't get any more powerful weapons, when the reason that they won't is because they now have nukes. But there's the Cocoon on the Holy Goose after another beautiful pulverize from Mount Black, and that's a pick going over to Waco Bandits, which seems to be their strength. They're really good in situations where they can get picks.
Turtle Swag is definitely showing his strengths there. He's landed so many good cocoons.
And we've had, like, good manipulation of vision and fog of war to get Alistair into positions where you can land multiple person headbutt pulverize combos. Like, they've had strong pick game, but that somehow hasn't always turned into wins for them in team fights. Like they got this pick, but what are they doing with it? We're seeing Dizak basing. We're seeing no turrets being pressured, no objectives being taken.
It definitely seems to be their biggest weakness is their lack of ambition after taking a kill.
And yeah, now the death timer just timed out. Holy Goose is alive again. So it's just the gold that Holy Goose gave up. And at this point, that's mattering less and less when you get to the point where people have 3-4 items and they're working on completing their inventories. Like 300 gold here or there is quickly becoming a bit of a drop in the ocean.
Trying to think of what else they could do. Obviously, they need. If they get a pick, they need to take an objective. For every pick, there needs to be an objective. But they might be panicking a little bit.
Well, there it was difficult for them to make a move because they have their bottom lane inhibitor down and because there was nothing else really free and open to take on the map. I mean, there's no outer turrets but in the bottom lane where they have no pressure. And Dragon wasn't available and Baron was too risky. But speaking of Baron, we do have Vicious going in for that call. There's the smite secured. Not Clandon now going to be chasing down onto Turtle Swag 3. He has the Guardian Angel and he's relatively tanky himself, but he's still going to flash out of there just for safety's sake. We'll see if we get a really good Sona ulti here. There we do. 3 men strong. Nameless King, though, coming in with a lot of damage. He is taking vengeance for that laning phase. The tentacles are slamming and smashing all over the place, and it is a triple kill for Alawi.
And that is the more I was talking about.
Oh boy, yeah, you can't afford to ignore Alawi in a team fight. Not in a team fight when you're in that close quarters in the jungle. But
That was basically the perfect situation.
What do Waco do with it?
They certainly need to be pushing, and that is what they are doing. They're letting Nameless King take care of that mini wave so he can recover some gold while the rest of them push. Mount Black taking that turret very easily.
And they seem to be on the right page with Mount Black taking a few turret hits. Like, push as hard and as fast as you can is the page that they're on. And I think that's the right one.
They're able to take 1 turret. But the consolation prize of 4 kills is definitely not bad. Not bad might be a little bit of an understatement.
It's a pity, really, that they couldn't take more, but that's still a good scenario. It's not best case scenario, obviously, but it's good for them. As it also opens up breathing room in their jungle. Ancium can get a blue buff, which is pretty important on Talia, actually. Her cooldowns are relatively long, even moving into the later game. And we'll see what they do next. I mean, good play, but you probably got to make another 3 or 4 good plays before you can actually take home the victory here if you're Waco now.
Absolutely. The Fat Lady still has a long way to go here.
I think Ancium has to play careful here. Some good wave clear out of that Talia.
Ooh.
As that's Gragas ulti burned, but Turtle Swag has to come down into the parallel convergence. The stun doesn't actually quite connect. That was not Clandon being too quick on his trigger finger there. He phase dove into the parallel convergence right before Turtle Swag actually came back into existence, I suppose.
Absolutely. Some questionable pathing by Turtle Swag, almost getting him killed.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, he's got a bit of forgiveness in the Kid of Elise.
Oh, we see that Baron buff doing work, though.
And not Clandon's diving to the back line, but he can certainly afford to do that. Now Nameless King has another Alawi ult down, but it's not nearly as impactful this time as the tentacles just sit there apathetic. And the inhibitor turret goes down. The inhibitor now under fire. Gonna be going down very swiftly now. Just a few more autos will do it. Quick is there. He's trying to finish it off. That's Sona on the backside of the fight. Finally, he does take it down. And looks like they'll be backing off.
Definitely a nice little prize for them trying to utilize the rest of their Baron buff. It has a little bit left, but not too much more, I imagine. They're going to go ahead and move to that bottom lane. They want that bottom inhib, and that'll let them easily push into that top wave to finish off the last inhibitor.
Some good wave control here from the side of Vicious. They had the top lane pushing this whole time as well. They had a slow push up there. They're a little bit discouraged by the differential in hit points. A little bit too discouraged by that to go for a push on the bottom side, but they had the map moving pretty much entirely in their favor, and they get an inhibitor out of it in the mid lane, and probably they're going to get this dragon once it respawns in just about 30 seconds, and then the inhibitor bot side if patterns continue.
Absolutely. See, Holy Goose quickly taking that blue buff for himself. He is getting that Zanya's for his fifth item. Seeing
Things have got
that,
to feel a little bit rough for Dazik in particular, who's sitting at 12-1. He's been doing a great job on this Lucian, but he just isn't able to exercise enough pressure. There's not really much that he can do against Not Clannon on Echo. If there's one thing that a tank hybrid Echo is really good at, it's shutting down AD carries, because they simply don't have the damage to deal with you in time before you kill them. Ganker coming in. Oh, a little bit of anti-synergy there as the Sona ulti does about whiffs because Greg has knocked him out of it, but Ganker is still going to get the kill. Make up for that mistake. Mount Black going to be falling even with his ulti running. Now Turtle Swag going to be bursted. Not Clannon is legendary, and appropriately so. He has been carrying like a monster this game, and it looks like he's looking for more. But maybe he's thinking he bit off a bit more than he could chew. And Culling comes through. He's going to phase dive forward. Time Warner flies out for the slow. And they may very well be able to catch up to this Lucian yet. There's the flash forward. Aether Star kindly warning his opponent. It's a heads up. And that's going to be the victory here, almost for sure.
I have a hard time imagining this game is going to continue on. Those turrets are melting.
And there's the Nexus exposed. And Dazik is going to put up as valiant a defense as he can muster, but it will not be enough. That is Vicious taking home the second game in our semifinals.
Absolutely. Very exciting game. Lots of actions right out of the gate that we could see. But
that means it's going to be Midnight Gaming versus Vicious Esports in our finals.
Absolutely. So let's see if we have a tournament code.
Looks like we do. Looks like we do indeed. That's what I like to see. Things moving smoothly. The cogs and machinery of the tournament operating well-oiled.
That is an excellent way to put it. I love it. Okay, I'm in the lobby, waiting on the team to show up.
No, it's okay. I'll just I'll 1v1 you. That's gonna be the finals tonight. That's what you all were here to see, folks. Me in effect, slamming it down on Summoner's Rift. Zillion 1v1s.
Oh yeah, love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna 1v1 you and Zillion later tonight then. It is decided. I am the true Time Lord.
Yeah. Let's see. Nobody's joined the lobby. They're probably taking. I can understand that some people might need a little time, especially after a night's exciting game like that. I can imagine the adrenaline is flowing.
But yeah. I mean, I gotta give props to Vicious for that game. They had a bit of a rough early game, and they rallied on the back of their really powerful Echo. And you know, you can give a lot of credit over to that Echo play. I mean, he was 12-0 at the end of the game, so well done. But the rest of the team was around him. I mean, Holy Goose did some absolutely great damage in those fights. Quick was there for a few good crescendos. There were good moments from everyone on the team, so it wasn't just the one-man Echo show from Not Clannon.
Absolutely.
They played to their strengths, and I like that.
It's always nice to see those exciting games. We could have gone either way, but it's kind of, as we mentioned, it was kind of hard to stop a 12-0 full tank, or a hybrid tank Echo. Lots of people joined the lobby.
Yeah, it looks like we got the teams together.
I'm going to go and take this opportunity to fix everything. On the blue side is going to be Vicious Esports Frenzy, and on the red team is going to be Midnight Gaming.
Alrighty then. Midnight Red and Vicious Frenzy on blue.
Curious to put the esports in the middle instead of the end.
It's to make you ask that question, you know? You stick in their mind now.
I see. That
It's a tactic.
Makes more sense than it should.
It's like those companies that misspell the names of their product on purpose. They know that Toys R Us is not spelled with the letter R. They know. But it makes it stick in your mind, you know? It's an advertising tactic.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a, there was a, I can't remember the name of it now. There was a British panel show where they brought that up. You could basically have them make signs for you, and you could pay a little extra for spell checking. And they're like, no, I don't need spell checking. I can do it myself. And they fully well know that you're going to misspell something and have to come back later and pay again for another sign.
So they actually make more money
Absolutely.
that way. Interesting. And they also make people really embarrassed. That's a great strategy to hold on to your customers. Anyways, we do have our finals coming up very soon. It looks like the teams are just getting a few more moments to sort things out in the lobby. And it is going to be Midnight Gaming, for those of you just tuning in, facing off against Vicious Esports Frenzy. Oh, God, I love that name. I can't say that name normally. I have to go into like super intense announcer mode when I say that one.
Kind of requires it, doesn't it?
Vicious Esports Frenzy. Vicious Esports Frenzy.
Vicious Esports Frenzy.
Close, close. You're getting there.
I gotta work on it a little bit.
I think the teams need another minute or two, and I definitely need to go grab some water to help my throat recover from saying that name too many ways, too many times. So
Speaking of water, I'm gonna go grab a bottle myself.
the stream will be right back, folks. We'll have gameplay for you in just a few minutes.
And here we are into our final match, a best of three versus with Vicious Esports versus Midnight Gaming. We see
I'm
bands
sorry.
heading out really quickly.
I'm sorry. Did you say which team was that on blue?
Blue team is Vicious Esports Frenzy. I apologize, I forgot the
Mm-hmm.
Frenzy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Do not forget. Do not forget.
Yeah, the frenzy has to
Vicious
be there.
Esports Frenzy.
Frenzy.
All right. As you say, though, the bands are coming through. Well, the first three of them, at least, rather quickly, and the Echo ban makes a lot of sense since the last game that we saw. Getting that out of Not Cannon's hand, pretty wise move, I'd say.
I
25 stacked Magi's, that speaks to a level of proficiency on the champion.
I agree. I certainly, after that level of performance, there's no way I'd ever not let Not Clannon play Echo again if I were to face him. We do see a
Yeah,
Hecarim ban and an Azir ban, actually, not letting Holy Goose play that. He had an okay game.
yeah,
Late,
that,
late,
that's that,
go ahead.
that's that's Holy Goose's own Azir, own team that was banning out the Azir. So they're more afraid of Wretched King picking up the Azir against them than they are of like than they are comfortable with Holy Goose playing it. And, I mean that speaks to a wide range of different champs that Holy Goose can play, of course, because he's not just this Azir one trick. He can go ahead and swap to another role, but the Karma and Sivir lock in, ever the perennial duo pick when you're on red side. From the side of which one's red again here? Midnight Gaming.
So Yillian, and it is Tuesday once again, picking up the Karma and the Sivir. So we see lots of engage, disengage potential out of that lane.
I love Tuesday's name. I can only imagine that he's making his account, and he's not too invested in League at this point. He's just now making his League of Legends account, and they're like, "What's your username?" And he doesn't know, so he just looks at the clock, he looks at his schedule. It is Tuesday. It's entered.
That
That's
is
that's how he came up with his name.
that's headcanon for me now. I believe it.
At least it's not like it is 8:45, and that's his name. Oh boy.
We do
So I think
see Braum being
that
locked
would,
in.
that would be correct more often. It's 8:45 at some point or another every single day, whereas it's only Tuesday once a week.
Absolutely. And he didn't choose a depressing day like Monday. We do see Jin also being locked in with that Braum, so there's their bot lane.
Makes a lot of sense. Pick a high damage, decent bully kill lane against Sivir and Karma. So that signals to me that Vicious is looking to go for the 2v2 lane. And they're not looking into a lane swap, which we haven't seen yet in the tournament this weekend, but we have seen in the tournament before and in opens at other points, in some of the other 53 opens that we've run.
Absolutely.
And I like to see the Vladimir pick alongside the Sivir and Karma rather than against it. Empower that Vladimir. Let him run towards enemies. Don't leave him crying in the back of a team fight because he can't keep up on his stubby vampire legs.
I can only imagine a little vampire midget trying to chase people down.
Oh boy. You want to hear a good one?
Okay, go shoot it.
What did the police station say when the dwarven psychic escaped from jail?
What?
That there was a small medium at large.
I actually heard that before. I haven't heard it in a while, but it's still pretty good.
Oh, it's freaking great, is what it is. Pretty good. Come on, you're understating. That was an intensely wonderful joke. Anyways,
We do see Elise locked in and
LeBlanc.
LeBlanc being hovered.
I would love to see LeBlanc. I would love to see some sort of lane that doesn't care about the mid lane and wants to leave the mid lane and go other places, because you don't play against a Vladimir mid for the laning phase. That's not an idea that is a good one to have in that matchup. What you do against Vladimir is you leave the lane and go do things at other parts of the map, and LeBlanc is really good at that.
She likes to get out. She doesn't want to stay home.
Yeah, she's no homebody, that LeBlanc.
I wonder if we will see Sona again from Quick. Hovering Poppy. Actually, no, you're right. Your Braum is already locked in, so we won't see Sona at all. So it's going to be a Poppy top lane, which we have not seen Poppy in a long time.
Yeah, Poppy's a it's a pretty decent pick here, honestly. I was about to say that it's not so great against the enemy lineup because they don't have a lot of dashes, so there's not going to be much value in Steadfast Presence, which is one of her more powerful and unique abilities. But there's a lot of value in this matchup against a Vladimir and a Sivir and that sort of thing in Keeper's Verdict in the ulti. Because if you can knock Vladimir out of a fight, and you have to be really careful of his pool and pay a lot of attention to Sanguine Pool to be able to do that successfully. But if you can, that's really powerful. We've already seen that Vladimir is absolutely useless if he can't get into the team fight, if he can't position correctly. And if you knock him halfway across the map it kind of inhibits his ability to position correctly. So I actually kind of like it.
I look forward to seeing if that's how they play it.
I just look forward to seeing how Not Kleinen plays at the laning phase here. He was doing so well last game. He was 12-0, and he had that fully stacked Magi's, but we didn't get to see the first part of the laning phase because of the way the matches in the semifinals overlapped. So I am excited to see Not Kleinen in the laning phase fully, starting from minute one.
Definitely look forward to see what he does. We do see that Rovan has picked up the Trundle, which is a pretty good matchup for him.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to see how it plays out. He's not playing Jax this time, obviously. And
I
with
would
that,
say that I have a similar worry here for Midnight's composition that I had a few games ago for Supernova's composition, which is interesting because Midnight won largely on basis of composition in that first match that we saw today in the first semifinal, in that they don't have a lot of reliable CC. They've got Cocoon and they've got Trundle Pillar. And Cocoon, of course, has to land, and Trundle Pillar isn't like a stun or anything. It's just some utility and slow. So to make up for it a bit, they do have Sivir and Karma, and that's a lot of mobility, which is kind of the band-aid you can put over a composition with not much CC. But I'm a bit worried at that. They're not going to be able to lock down a LeBlanc who's dashing around a team fight
they
very
do
easily.
have, thanks to the move speed, they do have some disengage and engage tools. But actually, it's kind of hard to match up mobility versus hard CC that we're seeing out of Not Clan and out of Ganker, out of Quick.
Yeah. But with that said, we do have about 2 minutes of the delay to count down through. So if you'd like to swing us to a commercial break, if that.
All right, we'll be back once the game is up.
I smoke too much. I drink too much. I tell myself that I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. That I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now.
And here we are. The first match of the finals has started.
And it is going to be a best of 3.
Yes,
It's
it is.
between Midnight and Vicious Esports Frenzy.
With Midnight Gaming being on the red side and Vicious Esports being on Vicious Esports Frenzy being on the blue side.
You caught me before I could correct you there. Oh, that name is just so great. You know, I can't let it slide. I can't let it go by.
It
I
is
can't let that
very
opportunity
it is
pass.
very long to say though, to be fair.
But it's fun to say. And that's the important. Vicious Esports Frenzy. Now brought to you by twitch.tv/Reverie Esports. Tune in every Saturday for our League of Legends Open. Which are on number 54 now. Between Midnight Gaming and Vicious Esports Frenzy, we've made our way to the finals. Look at that segue. We have a five moin spread on the map. It's like man, but more Scottish. From both teams.
We just see Etherstar just kind of chilling in between the two turrets. Must be getting a drink. Decides he
Possibly.
needs some water all of a sudden.
Maybe just hiding as best he can from enemy vision. They may want to go for the swap. I don't know. Poppy survives decently well in it, but they're not positioning for that sort of thing.
They are gonna grab Krugs in the bottom.
Yeah. I'm interested that we haven't actually seen a single swap the whole tournament so far this Open. Usually we see at least 1 or 2 during the course of the Open to try and like throw off a team or something. But we do have best of 3 in our hands, so I shouldn't speak that early on it.
We do have at least a minimum of one more game to go. Things are starting off relatively calmly. Ratchet getting poked a tiny bit.
Some solid right clicking from Holy Goose. Making use of those LeBlanc autos, not always the easiest thing to last hit the minions with that. And this is the lane that I was excited to watch. Not Clannon had such a dominating performance last game. I'm really interested to see how much of that came out of a solid performance in the laning phase, which we didn't really get to see much of, or whether it was just the fact that he was well supported by his jungler, or maybe he had some really amazing skirmishes, like what it was that led to such a lead. And it looks like he's a pretty aggressive bullying laner. He's coming in for these grasp the undying procs as often as possible.
He's definitely giving Rovan a hard time. Rovan's kind of playing back, playing safely. Not interested in duking it out just yet.
The advantage that Poppy has here at the level 1, and actually I guess moving forward into the lane, is the fact that she has a little bit more area of effect damage than a Trundle will, and so will potentially gain levels more quickly as Not Clannon is able to shove the lane out more quickly, just by dint of that Q, but that does open him up to aggressive plays from the enemy jungler. Right now, we see Elise is actually sitting on the top side of the map, and maybe one more clear of a camp, or even just in a few moments, after that, we may see Vincere head top.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing how Vincere plays. He was, I might call him the star of Midnight Gaming's first match we saw, because he was all over the map and had pretty high kill participation throughout the entire match.
He gets spotted out here, though. It's a nice preemptive ward from Holy Goose in the mid lane. And there's another ward in the river, so they really expected Not Clannon to draw some aggression here, and it looks like he's going to be backing off. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, with the knowledge of where the enemy jungler is, that gives Ganker the freedom to come in here and, well, live up to his name, as Not Clannon is going to get engaged upon here. He's getting dove into the tower, actually. Vincere is not the one taking the tower aggro here. This is kind of wrong for the Elise not to be picking it up early. May go down to the extra tower shot. No, the first blood goes over to Vincere, and he makes it out with the repel.
Ooh, that was cutting it really close.
That was a little bit of a misplay. They still get the first blood, but what you want is the Elise to tank it first, so that repel can be used to drop tower aggro, and you still have someone high on health at that point.
And we do see Not Clannon. He actually did burn a flash too, so it's kind of unfortunate he didn't get out. He's using that teleport to get back to lane though.
And moving off of the top lane a little bit, as we have the first blood go down up there.
Oh.
We have Ganker moving into the mid lane. There's the flash into the body slam. The body slam into the flash, rather. There's Regit now getting ignited, and Holy Goose will take home a kill. Answering back, Vicious Esports Frenzy is not to be outdone. God, I love that name.
Do you see that Wretched kind of panic flashed and popped Ghost at the same time, but was not able to get away from the snare?
If he wanted to be able to get out of that one, he had to flash the Gragas body slam. He had to respect the body slam flash a little more, or maybe just see it coming. He may not have.
Absolutely. I'm judging from the lack of the Sanguine Pool. I imagine it was on cooldown.
Oh yeah,
And
it had been actually because right before that, it was something I was going to mention. Holy Goose dropped the Sigil of Malice, and that prompted Wretched King to go into the Sanguine Pool, which is a good trading pattern against LeBlanc overall for Wretched King, but it did leave him open to that gank. So just really good awareness in general from the duo of Ganker and Holy Goose.
Ganker staying true to his name and ganking. We see. Let's see. How are the lanes all going? Not Clannon, despite being killed here, is maintaining a nice CS lead. He's
Mm-hmm.
pretty far ahead currently. Roven not having the easiest time.
And he's consistently getting this level advantage that I was talking about because he can shove out the wave a little bit faster. And now he's actually sitting in a perfect position. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked a fight like in the next few moments because the lane isn't too far up that he's too open to jungle pressure, but he's still got a minion, about equal minion wave, a little bit more. This is why Roven is aggressively coming up to the wave and trying to thin it out as much as possible because otherwise Not Clannon had a really good opportunity to fight there. And also, it just gives Roven some health back because of the Trundle passive decomposition. It's a really interesting lane, even if it doesn't look like there's too much happening at any given moment.
Oh, Not Clannon going to go ahead and clear out that pink ward. Jungle fight!
I think Anchor wins this 1v1, and with Not Clannon coming in first and with an advantage, this may be some trouble for the Elise. However, Ratchet King is able to respond before his mid lane counterpart, and he will be getting the kill on the Ganker. There's the flash away from Vincere. Now Holy Goose coming in to try and answer back. Not Clannon does have the Keeper's Verdict, but he gets Cocoon. I imagine he would have used it there, but that CC was perfectly placed. And that's the kill going over to Ratchet King.
We did see the Poppy
Oh,
ultimate come out. Oh,
Oh yeah, Keeper's Verdict is burned. I didn't actually see where that was used.
he used it to push Roven out of the fight, but it didn't push him completely out. It just knocked him into the Baron Pit.
Interesting.
At least
That's why I was confused, like when that cocoon landed, that he didn't have it charging before then.
Yeah, he almost succeeded in pushing Roven over the wall, but not quite, and still made it a 2v3, and basically allowing Midnight Gaming to pick up 2 kills there.
This is not Clannon not having nearly as much of an impact on this game as he did in the last. I mean, he still does have that CS advantage, and he could still dominate the top lane, but they are respecting the hell out of his top lane play, and we've seen a lot of focus up on that side of the map. You know, mid and top is where things have been happening. Bot lane has been rather quiet this game.
Actually, we do see Etherstar has a slight CS lead, but it's nothing too severe. Nothing Sivir can't recover from with some farming.
And just by dint of utility, you know, in the later game. But that's not to say that Jin doesn't have some as well. He can actually pick fights pretty darn well with Curtain Call. And we talk about the advantages gained to both sides, but it's actually still really even between these two teams. As Vincere might be in some trouble. Holy Goose has a lot of mobility. He can dash, double dash, in fact, over those walls, but the body slam is blocked by the Wolf Camp. Vincere still getting bursted, though. Holy Goose will bring it down with that Ignite coming through. And speaking of the Curtain Call, here it comes. Wretched King is gonna be shot out, slowed up by those bullets, but Aetherstar gets caught, locked in the immobility of his ult. He was an easy target for his Tuesday and Yillian, but he's got the support of Quick. Tuesday's gonna dash away, but Winner's Bite will sign his death warrant.
Yeah, we see another exciting game coming out of Vicious Esports Frenzy, staying true to their name and being really aggressive.
Yeah, that was a super aggressive move into the enemy jungle there, but it's capitalized on well. It's going to give them this Air Dragon, Wind Drake, whatever it is you want to call it. A little bit of extra move speed for them. And they make up for the disadvantage in top lane and not Clannon on the rest of the map. You know, they say, you got to focus our top laner. We will make plays elsewhere then. We don't have just this one trick. We're not a one-trick team. We can do it places. We can do things with the rest of the map. So here comes Keeper's Verdict and knock away onto the Elise. And Not Clannon has to flash over the wall. A summoner and an ult burned for Vincere's time topside.
We're seeing that Roven is able to put that pressure on. He does have that Tiamat. Gives him some wave clear. Still behind NCS though this rest of this wave should help. And Not Clannon forced to burn the TP to recover that wave.
Solo laner turning into the superstar. This game is going to be Holy Goose, who's sitting at 3-0 with a Morello completed, a strong first item rushing us to Vladimir for certain. And who is likely going to get his roam on it sometime soon. We're only about 10 minutes into the game. It feels like it's much later because these teams are making a lot of macro-based map plays, and some really more advanced decisions, but we still are in pretty well and truly the laning phase.
Yeah, so we don't really see 7 kills this often. Oh, Wretched King, it might be in trouble here. Forced. Oh, nice flash.
That time he respected the flash body slam combo. You have to flash as the animation starts, or else you're not going to be able to react in time to avoid it. And that is a summoner for a summoner.
Oh, not Clannon in trouble here.
There is a nice use of the steadfast presence. It actually blocks Vincherry from getting next to him, but not Clannon with no summoners and no ulti is still going to go down here.
They're really focusing on shutting him down.
They really are, and I mean it's working to some extent, but Poppy is going to have utility in the late game. He's still got a CS lead, so he's still got enough gold. You know, like when you kill someone, you don't take gold out of their pockets. You may deny them some minions under the turret, as it looks like Rovin's going to do, but he's going to be able to build a Sunfire pretty quickly. He's going to be able to have some value to his team. Wretched King, though, is diving into the turret. He has that Ghost going. One more transfusion will seal the deal here. And he gets pretty much the solo kill. Actually, Vincherry stole that away with an auto, but oh well.
Vincherry's like, nope, this is mine.
You know what? If I come to your lane, I'm getting something for it.
He is going to go ahead and take that opportunity to push with the mini wave, do some damage to that mid lane turret, and then backs off.
Aetherstar is actually growing for himself a pretty significant lead on the bottom side, though. That was a good kill, a very opportunistic kill into Holy Goose there. I'm honestly surprised that he did go down. I think he just was a little bit too overconfident clearing the wave with distortion. Once again, Clannon's getting dove on. This time Vincherry waits for the Steadfast Presence to go down before he pounces onto him, but he is going to get stunned against the wall. He gets taken out in an over-aggressive tower dive with Rovin not there to back him up.
It was not able to repel. Really nice stun by Not Clannon, locking out just long enough for the turret to finish him off.
He's sick and tired, I guess.
He's like
getting camped. I would be too in his place.
I would be a little annoyed.
Really big. Oh, a nice spell shield from Yillian. He's been on point with those whenever we see him playing the Sivir.
Well, there is the curtain call.
Some more good damage on Yillian. A nice Sanguine Pool from Ratchet King, but a well-timed Ethereal Chains, and then the Gragas ulti will pull him back into the fight he was trying so desperately to escape from, and he will go down. Holy Goose takes home that kill with the Ignite.
Very nice kick by Ganker. Very good use of the exploding casket to push Wretched King back into range.
That's pretty darn good for Not Clannon to get that solo kill a few moments ago there, because he has been the focus and they have been trying to shut him down, and it looks like he's been able to weather the storm. I mean, he's going for the 1v1 now with Rovin. He's got a lot of confidence. Of course, the blue buff helps out a lot. But the teams are still holding relatively even. Ooh, nice damage from Holy Goose onto Vincherry there. Sad that the second Sigil of Malice wasn't procced, but that's alright.
Definitely can't underestimate LeBlanc's damage at any point ever.
It's a pretty good general statement to make. Yeah, Holy Goose, I mean, especially 4-1. This guy is the linchpin of his team right now. I mean, with Poppy having taken so much of the heat from the enemy jungler, Holy Goose has been able to just run rampant, and Ganker has had no small part in that either. For every kill that LeBlanc has, Ganker has an assist, and that's not by accident.
I can definitely say that's fully intended. And he's actually out CSing Vincherry.
Mm-hmm. The focus on Poppy has kind of cost them a little bit.
We'll have to see if they keep up. We see possible gank mid lane. Vincherry on that pink ward, able to get in that buff very easily.
Ganker's here again, but this time there is a counter gank potentially from Vincherry. Ganker's going to body slam away, and actually Ghost is popped from Ratchet King.
Oh,
But
this could be
here's
bad.
And there's Winter's Bite. They've got a lot of slows to work with. Aetherstar is going to get caught out by the enemy duo lane, though. Yumu's popped to get a little bit of movement speed. Those crits are going to allow him to kite a bit better as well. Ganker brings down the kill on to Tuesday. Now the exhaust dropped on the Wretched King as he comes into the fight, and he's just going to have to flash on out of there. But the Winter's Bite plus the flash body slam combo, and Holy Goose picks up the kill. Really well played by Quick during this fight as well. These Winter Bites have been on point. That exhaust shut down any hope that Wretched King had of coming in and cleaning that fight up. And that was some really solid play, synergistic play from Vicious Esports Frenzy.
Vicious Esports Frenzy definitely taking a pretty firm lead after that little fight. everything was kind of up in the air at that point, except for the various lane matchups. But that kind of seals it for the early game, and that is the second Drake going to them. This time it's Infernal Drake.
They were just faster to the play, and now they get the Drake for themselves. Infernal Drake super strong on a team with LeBlanc and Jin. Those are two champs that just stack damage for days. And having a percentage increase of damage on somebody like that is going to go a long way. A lot longer than it would on a lot of other champs. A little bit late on the Keeper's verdict there, but oh well.
Valiant attempt to try and keep the tower alive, but just not fast enough.
Valiant attempts are Poppy's specialty.
Oh, Robin wanted to get a little fight here.
Subjugation is dropped. There's the Pillar of Filth. Or ice, I suppose, or traffic cones. Pillar of Safety. Not Clannon is actually going to dodge away from that cocoon. One of the few that we've seen Vincherry miss. There's the body slam. There's the ulti, but it gets repelled from. Vincherry doesn't quite get bursted down. Doesn't quite get bursted down even yet as Holy Goose joins the fight. Now the rest of his team is here with the Sivir ult to speed them in, and that will be the shutdown onto Ganker.
Giving Midnight Gaming a little bit of much needed gold there.
But, I mean, even that fight where they get the 1-for-0 trade, it looked worrying to me how difficult it was for them to finalize the kill onto Ganker because they are just so lacking in CC. We see that Cocoon miss, and then they just have to like raw chase people down. They don't have any way to hold someone down and eventually kill them. And they're gonna trade this Rift Herald and kill for a secondary turn on the bottom side. I imagine if this goes down, yeah, it's basically dead at this point already.
And there it goes.
I mean, that's a play that they won, just sort of by the numbers in terms of that specific fight, even if you don't look at the whole of the map. And yet still, it doesn't look solid for them.
It was definitely a pretty big struggle there. They need something else to help them lock things down. They need Vladimir to have a Rylai's. They probably might consider getting Trundle or Randuin's to give them more slows.
Randuin's is really powerful against Jhin in particular. Because the fourth bullet in the ult counts as a crit, his fourth shot counts as a crit. Holy goose! May as well be critting. It's magic damage, so you know it can't, but holy lord. Holy goose! He gets that kill. That's a lot of damage.
I imagine Vincherry said holy something else.
My official analysis of that play. Holy Goose has lots of damage. Tons of it, you may say. 6-1 and 2. And the solo lanes, it seems, for Vicious Esports Frenzy are just powerhouses.
Vincherry definitely needs to try and bulk up a little bit here. He is extremely squishy, as we just noticed by his evaporation at the hands of Holy Goose.
It's true, he's gone with a fairly high damage Elise build for the early game. It's one of those chances you can kind of opt either direction. There's the Pillar of Safety. Not Clannon and Ganker are going to be able to back out of there, most likely. There's really not much that they can do about it. I mean, they can't hold them in place. They can't stop LeBlanc from jumping to their back lines. There's basically no risk for Holy Goose. It's one of the reasons why I really liked this LeBlanc pick. A 3-man Hemoplague is pretty good, though. Quick turns around with the Glacial Fissure. There's the stun on the Wretched King. Holy Goose doing as much damage as he can as Not Clannon won't quite get bound up by It Is Tuesday. And nobody goes down.
Unfortunately,
Any other composition, they're caught out, they go down because they're missing their AD carry, they lose that fight. But they just don't have the ability to make them pay for their mistakes.
absolutely. We did see the Cocoon miss as well, which was unfortunate, because if they had landed, they probably would have picked up at least one kill there.
Mm-hmm.
But
or if Yillian had been there, perhaps. Because it seems like their solution to the lack of CC is to just be really fast. But without Sivir ulti, that's not really a solution that's viable. So Yillian being on the bottom side of the map farming at that point was a little rough for Midnight.
well, definitely, I imagine what they're probably going to end up doing is they absolutely need rechecking Wretched King to have Rylai's. He needs the ability to slow people down as he's dealing damage to them, because he has short cooldowns. But it's Tuesday. Nice flash!
And that was a very nice flash. Quick thinking, quick fingers to get out of there safe. Sad he had to burn the flash for him, but that is what the summoner's for.
Better to be alive than dead.
That's a good rule to have, you know? I think I'll take that one.
Make a nice little notebook with rules in it. And number one, it's better to be alive than dead.
I've proven to be immortal so far.
Oh, there's the. Speaking of Silver Ultimates,
Yeah, it is pop. There's the flash for Vincere, and the cocoon misses, and so they have to disengage. Nothing else to throw at it. To throw at this Gragas and see what will stick. Gragas does have some decent wave clear, but it looks like they're going to be able to shove him back. But meanwhile, on the top side of the map, there's a secondary turret being taken in response, and their minion wave is not going to last them very long. Turrets have a lot of damage reduction if there's no minions nearby nowadays. 66%, in fact. And Ganker's going to bully Is It Tuesday. He may actually get a kill here in the 1v2. As they back away, he forces the heal. He body slams in. He picks up the kill.
oh, that's really unfortunate.
They have no way to stop people.
That's really unfortunate for Midnight Gaming. They didn't even get that mid turret.
Oh, man. Midnight is just rapidly falling to their knees in this game. Just they have nothing left to bring to bear. Laning phase went pretty well because a lot of these champs are really strong laners. I mean, Vladimir, Trundle, and the amount of focus that they had on that top lane, like they had some solid laning, but these team fights have told a very different story.
Definitely, we can definitively say at this point. Actually, we could have said it for a while now that Vicious Esports Frenzy has complete control. They have all the turrets. They have all the dragons.
And that's going to be another Volcanic Drake. I believe we've got 2 of those now counted. If I recall correctly, though,
I believe that is correct. It is 2 Volcanic Drakes.
Oh, I can't check. Oh, yes, I can. There we go. 2 Infernal Drakes and 1 Cloud Drake. 2 Infernal Drakes on a team with a LeBlanc and Jhin. I mean, that's no small part of the reason why LeBlanc is doing so much damage right now. That is a straight-up 12% increase in damage. That's pretty darn crazy.
It definitely brings out the pain. Speaking of pain, we see a Rabadon's Death Cap has been purchased by Holy Goose.
And one of my favorite Jhin builds, which has kind of become the meta Jhin build at this point, is the Duskblade of Drakthar. Very strong, because you don't do a lot of auto-attacking during a fight as Jhin. So whoever you auto, that first auto to get the passive proc down, is usually somebody that you're trying to kill anyways, trying to focus down. Unlike on a Caitlyn or even a Sivir or somebody like that, where you're going to auto a lot of different people during the fight. Jhin's autos are more like kind of another spell, really. Oh, Holy Goose getting stunned up! Bit off maybe a little bit more than he could chew, but he does have his team to back him up. It is Tuesday now, going to be sniped across the wall. Let's see if Ganker can finish off the kill. He can indeed. Rovan now playing havoc in the back line, but he won't last for very long. Not against Clannon, who's going to be stunning him up against the wall with a heroic charge. He has to flash away to get out of there, but there's a body slam waiting for him on the other side of the wall. Wretched King's going to turn around, but all of his area of effect has already been burned. He has to flash too, but there's a flash over the wall from Aether Star. There's the Duskblade of Drakthar. It pops, and down goes the vampire. That is a one-team fight decisively for Vicious Esports Frenzy.
It makes it a 4-1. Holy Goose actually ended up dying there. I think maybe he accidentally procced Dragon. Or, I'm sorry, not Dragon, but Baron.
Yeah, one of the big danger noodles.
He is a big snake. Who...
Yes. Oh, danger noodle is the best word for snake. It's so appropriate, but that Baron is a little bit overzealous.
They're deciding to back out.
Oh, they actually still pulled a teleport from Rovan, though. Just the threat of them potentially being there taking it.
Hashtag worth.
Yeah, it was. They didn't actually lose anything. And they got a teleport. It's about as worth as it gets. Something for free.
One thing interesting thing in that previous set, we did see that Holy Goose engaged on Vincere again, expecting to burst him, but got bursted back in return.
Yeah, it was just Vincere had really good reflexes with that cocoon. The instant LeBlanc showed her face, there was a cocoon there to match it, so... I don't know.
Despite the good play, speaking of plays, we see Yillian getting locked up and destroyed.
That was a really good pillar from Rovan, but it's not going to be enough to dissuade them from this fight. As Yillian is already dead. They no longer have the Sivir ulti to run away. But it looks like they maybe aren't going to. Yeah, they just lose that one.
We do see Clannon in the bot lane, split pushing, has the Sunfire, has the Iceborne Gauntlet, so that gives him the wave clear tools. We
Baron is
see
once again a point of contention.
Vicious Esports Frenzy going for that Baron. They have started it.
Holy Goose going to be bursting down Vincere, but nearly gets bursted down himself, as you said earlier. Repel going to be keeping Vincere safe, and both of these AP assassins will disengage from one another. There's the flash over the wall from Quick. That is an aggressive Braum. He's just trying to play zone control. Aetherstar gets the kill into Vincere before he can go into the wall, but the Baron still hasn't gone down. Both smites are out of the picture. It's anybody's Baron at this point. It only has 700 health left. The dancing grenade. Aetherstar picks it up. That was... Ooh, that was a little bit scary for both teams there, but it's still a little bit scary here as health bars are flashing on both sides. There's the heroic charge, and not Clannon will bring down Tuesday. Oh, man. That had me on the edge of my seat, quite literally there.
It was definitely seat of your pants kind of gameplay there. We do see that with that Baron, that Vicious Esports Frenzy is going to be able to take that turret very easily.
Both junglers were killed when Baron was at 700 health. That's just, it becomes a free-for-all at that point. Either team's game. Wrecked King is having some fun. Giggling about his sanguine pool. And Dragon, pardon me, is going to be up in about a minute. Let's see what the next one is, actually. Take a gander over at the pit. It's going to be an Ocean Drake, one we haven't seen spawn yet. Ooh, and I'm being informed, in fact, that the stream is lagging a little bit. You having some internet issues over there?
Not that I could tell, but let me turn off some things and maybe see if I can fix it.
Alright,
I may have to lower the bit rate.
But we have an engage here from the Jin. It is Tuesday. We'll go down. And, oh, nice pathing there from Roven. Manages to avoid getting caught by the captive audience. Nicely done. But with Baron buff strong and 4 members available to shove, we do see Vicious Esports Frenzy pushing up the mid lane with a 4-in-1 split with Braum being the one. Strategy I haven't really seen too often. They're going to be rejoining the Braum, so now it's a five-man strong push from the top side. There's the Keeper's Verdict, and it looks like they just are really all-inning onto this turret. Does go down. There's an inhibitor turret falling. The inhibitor likely to fall shortly thereafter as Holy Goose gets a lot of burst onto Yillian. Wrecked King going to be snared up there by the ethereal chains, and here's the engage. Let's see if they can actually manage to stick onto this fight. Glacial Fisher's going to be doing some good work for the disengage on the side of Vicious Esports Frenzy, and it looks like they'll be able to walk their way out of there. As Sivir ulti is not nearly enough for them to stick.
Okay, I've lowered the bitrate, so hopefully that fixes the lag issues, but I can't think of what else would be causing stream lag.
Oh, I'm thinking it may not have accomplished the goal you set out for there, Effect, as it seems like the stream has gotten slightly worse. We may take a break between these games, see if we can solve some of the issues. For now, I'll do my best to keep the audience informed as to what's happening. Looks like it smoothed out a tiny bit, but not very much.
Alright, let's try... I don't know, maybe my provider's being wonky. That would be something that's on my control, unfortunately.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. I don't think we can swap broadcast in the middle of the game here, but I can pick up for the next game if need be, if we can't solve these issues.
That may be what we have to do. We'll have to see if it smooths out before the end of the game.
Yeah, the Ocean Drake does go down, though, and that's going to be going over to the side of Vicious Esports as they shove up the bottom lane, looking to close out this game, really. Oh, there's the Jin ulti. Going for a sort of soft engage. Wrecked King going to be taking the brunt of that. He does get tossed out of the fight. The inhibitor turret going to be going down a similar pattern to what we saw in the top lane. Now, Ganker going to be flashing forward for the body slam as Wrecked King gets slowed up by that cask and gets absolutely murdered by that hammer. Not Clannon going to be picking that one up, and the inhibitor going to be falling shortly thereafter. And it looks like we may not have to contend with rough streaming issues for much longer as that Nexus turret will go down. Quick is going to play defense with the team as the other Nexus turret is under fire. And the Nexus itself now open and waiting. Will rapidly lose its hit points. As Aetherstar is looking to pad his KDA a little bit. Then Cherry diving off of the fountain. Just to his death, though. Quick takes it home with a headbutt. The exhaust on the Star. He has to flash out as the enemy AD carry is a little bit too hot for him to handle, but the Nexus will go down. All right, folks, did the stream quality improve at all towards the end of that, or are we still choppy?
It looks like it smoothed out some, but there's still a couple choppy moments.
All right. Well, we will do our best to get that sorted, folks. We'll get the teams into the next match as we are going to be moving on to Game 2 of our best of 3 series here between Vicious Esports, Frenzy, and Midnight Gaming. Please do stick around. We'll be back in just a little bit.
Oh. Sorry about that. There we go. We will be back shortly. Where is... Okay, guys, we're going to turn the stream off for a moment. We're going to change who is broadcasting, so hopefully that fixes our lag issues.